With the recently released trailer for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League from our beloved Rocksteady Studios that brought us the Batman Arkham games, I thought I would go back to their last released game, Batman Arkham Knight, and see how it stacks up in 2020, especially that you would probably be able to get it for a sweet deal nowadays. Before starting the review, a quick note for the people that didn't play the Arkham series games before. I would recommend to start with Batman Arkham Asylum, then Arkham City, and lastly with Arkham Knight. The first two I'll be talking about later in a future video as well. What's up everyone and welcome to a new video. My name is Omar with Real Gamer Review, and today we are reviewing Batman Arkham Knight almost 5 years after the release. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking the video and turn on the bell icon to see more videos like this one. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The story this time is picking up right away after the events of Arkham City. That's why I recommended to play all three games in order by release date. And I've put in the description below a link for the Arkham Collection game for a very special price, both for the PC and Xbox One. Make sure to check it out. If you start with Arkham Knight, it's fine as you would still understand what's going on easily, but you will be missing on a few things mentioned here and there. And also the game intro might be a bit ambiguous from a storyline perspective, but you will still understand what is going on. As for the story itself, basically the city would be under lockdown from the very beginning of the game and would be under the control of one of the villains and his gang due to some events that I won't be revealing so as not to spoil anything for people that didn't play the game yet. So mainly after a few cutscenes, Gotham City will be Batman's playground, and it is so much fun this time around as the Batmobile is introduced for the first time in Arkham Games series, and it's pretty good. We'll be talking about it in more details later through the video. So long story short, the story in this installment is pretty solid, as is the case with all the Arkham games. From the first minute, the story is very interesting with the introduction to a lot of famous DC Universe characters, with a lot of other surprises throughout the game that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So for the gameplay, I'll be dividing it into two parts. First part will be on-foot gameplay and the second part will be the Batmobile. It's an open-world game like its previous installment, although the very first game was not. Since the very beginning of the game, the whole city is unlocked, so basically you can go anywhere around the city, but not all the features are unlocked. So I would recommend playing a bit into the story before starting to discover on your own, especially that the Batmobile won't be available from the very first minute. You still have the same features from the previous installments, but even better and more enhanced. The gliding, grapple hook, Batman's movement and camera, detective mode, and of course the best feature of Arkham games, the combat. Let me explain some of those features a bit more for people that haven't played the game or the Arkham series before. So the first thing you will encounter in your gameplay is the famous Batman's cape gliding feature. It will help you a lot with moving around the city from different rooftops along with the grapple hook. Getting used to both and using them simultaneously will help you a lot in moving faster around the city. Secondly, we have the famous detective mode. It is some sort of a vision bat gadget that includes X-rays and some other stuff. It turns the world into a blue color that reveals weak walls to break, detecting enemies showing in their skeletons, and it helps you detecting their heartbeat and knowing exactly if they detected your presence or not. Listening to their conversations, and also it shows their emotions if they are angry, on edge, or afraid. Yes, afraid, as the fear factor is a big thing in the Arkham games, exactly as the Batman movies. The detective mode is not the only gadget that you have. As I mentioned before, you have the grappling hook. Also, you have an explosive gel gadget that you can use to break walls and will be used to solve some puzzles throughout the game. Another gadget you own as well is the famous batarangs that you can throw at enemies directly or even control in air. Those are not the only gadgets you will be having, but those are the main ones that you will start the game with. But still, throughout the game you will unlock some more cool gadgets. Now getting to the best thing in the game, the combat. Actually the second best thing, as I think this time around the Batmobile is the best thing. But we'll get to that later. So as you probably heard or even tried yourself, Batman Arkham series has one of the best combat mechanics in modern video games, and Arkham Knight excels in that part. The combat has one of the smoothest mechanics that you might try in a video game. If you got the hang of it, it just works flawlessly in a very satisfying yet realistic way that is a bit hard to explain in words. You need to just see it for yourself, or even better yet, give it a try. I even would go all the way recommending this game just to enjoy the combat mechanics that it has. And since we mentioned the combat, Marvel's Spider-Man as well implemented very similar combat mechanics into their game, which was really nice, but I still feel that the one in Arkham Knight is slightly better and smoother, but still. Marvel's Spider-Man is a pretty nice game that I would also recommend, and I have a full review for it that I will link if you want to check it out. Coming to one of the best features of the game, the Batmobile. Before talking about the Batmobile features, I wanted to discuss the driving mechanics, as most of the studios that work on level-based games, when they do an open-world game with vehicles included, they usually don't get the driving mechanics correctly. Example, Watch Dogs 1 and 2 from Ubisoft. I mean, don't get me wrong, the game and visuals are pretty good, especially with Watch Dogs 2, but I really dislike the driving mechanics in those games. It just doesn't feel natural, unlike racing games and Grand Theft Auto, for example. But that wasn't the case here. Rocksteady just got it right from the very first attempt. The driving mechanics are awesome. It feels just right, exactly as a car would behave when you drive it. Only a slight thing that took a bit of time to get used to is that the car brakes have a weird button assigned to them, unlike any other driving games. But probably they did it because the car has two different modes. You will get used to it eventually, but I just thought of mentioning it. So after getting the driving mechanics out of the way, let's get into the best part: the Batmobile's weapons and features. First awesome feature is that the Batmobile can turn into a tank. Yes, you heard it correctly, a tank. There is a mode that you can activate in the Batmobile that is called Battle Mode, which basically will make it move like a tank, and even better as it can move sideways during this mode. And you will even have access to a heavy cannon that can be used against other enemy tanks and heavy vehicles. Also, it features a machine gun and a non-lethal weapon that can be used against human enemies. That's not all, as you can control all of those weapons remotely and move the whole car remotely as well. How cool is that? The Batmobile also features the super cool afterburner that was famous in some of the Batman movies, and it behaves exactly as you would expect it to. It will make the Batmobile really fast. It also has a pretty strong power winch that you'll be using in solving different puzzles and driving in weird angles. Best way to explain it, defying physics angles. But still, pretty cool. Another pretty awesome feature in the Batmobile is the ejection seat, which you can use to eject from your car while moving to give a strong in-air boost to use for gliding, or simply getting out of the vehicle in a cool way. You can also get into the vehicle in another cool way with a press of a button. It's just Batman being Batman, always doing things in style. The game also has a decent upgrades feature that you can access from the options menu, and you get to upgrade your gadgets, combat moves, and the Batmobile. You will be able to upgrade all of those through points that you earn throughout the game for completing story missions. Coming to the graphics and visuals department, this is another place where this game shines. Batman Arkham Knight is a 5 years old game, but still it has breathtaking graphics and visuals still today, especially if you are playing it on PC and cranking all the graphics settings to the max. If you also happen to own one of the newer Nvidia cards, you can turn on the enhanced Game Works. That will give you a way more enhanced smoke and fog visuals. Still, the game looks very nice on PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, but for the best experience I would recommend playing it on PC. Rocksteady always took care of the finer details, and it shows in all the small details all around the game, especially in the Batsuit and the Batmobile. So for the graphics and visuals department, it is simply a job well done. Well, it would be a bummer if after all the good things we mentioned before, Rocksteady does a bad job in this department. But still, thankfully they didn't. They simply chose all the correct soundtracks that can put you in the right mood while playing a Batman game without overdoing it. The music just comes in the right moments, and sometimes it is subtle but still very effective in the key moments of the game. As for the audio and sound effects, I would say they did a good job, but usually when it comes to this part there will be different opinions around it. So the best thing is listening to some of them yourself and be the judge on it. I won't be able to share the music, just some sound effects, due to the copyrights on YouTube.
Your mommy.
You might fool everyone else, but you can't fool me. There's something different about you. Blossom away deep in your subconscious, hidden. But something is gnawing away in the darkness of your mind. Is something even you can't explain.
This game is epic, and I loved every moment of playing it. Rocksteady did an amazing job of putting you in Batman's shoes, and it just gives you the feel of the power you possess with all of the Batman's gadgets and vehicles, and how you can hunt down enemies from the shadows and plant the fear in their heads and hearts before doing that. I would recommend eyes closed that you own and play this game if you are a Batman fan, as it is easily one of the best games from the last decade. And as I mentioned before, I've put the links for a discounted price for the Arkham Collection in the description box below for PC and Xbox One if you would like to purchase it. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to watch more videos like this one.